There's only a couple of bits of news. So do you want to... Oh, 2 seconds, I'm going to sneeze.
Woofed.
Excuse me.
Aye.
All right, Archie.
Oh!
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Hi everybody and welcome to the next episode of the I Ready podcast. As ever, I'm your host Derek and with me is my co-host Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm in our garden room, which is my favourite place in the world at the moment, and I've got a lovely pint of Lone Brow off the Perfect Draft, which I've tried for the first time tonight, so it is absolutely lovely. So right now, Derek, I'm quite relaxed. I'm feeling all right, but, you know, we're going to get into talk about the football, so that'll probably change.
Yes, I've got my blood pressure tablets at the ready as well.
Yep.
So, yes, we've got one game to cover. We all know what it's about. We thought we would just do this game because there's a lot to cover with the fallout from it, as there always is after an Old Firm game, but maybe more so much this time. And Dave's working for a good bit, so we would have a number of games to cover and it would kind of dilute the talking about this as well. So we may as well start off and we'll go down the tunnel and onto the park. So I know I ended the last podcast saying that all our moods would change and it would all go to shit after if we never won this cup final. Yes, we lost the game, but I think we came out of the game actually fairly well, and obviously with the fallout with it as well, I think there's a little bit of grievance there as well, which we'll get into. But it was the game against Celtic. It was on Sunday the 15th of December. We lost 5-4 on penalties after a 3-each draw after extra time. It was against Celtic at Hampden in the League Cup final. Dave, we'll both get into the game shortly. What I want to cover first, though, is before the game, the ultras from both sides clashed in Argyle Street with fighting, flares, missiles being thrown, a Celtic pub having its windows smashed, and a flare thrown in also. What kind of fucking idiot do you need to be to do that? Elements of both sides have let their fellow fans and clubs down for that matter. Back in the day, they arranged scraps away from populated areas. They done it outside of the glaring eye. Now it's basically silly wee fannies looking for social media clicks. This is the kind of behaviour that not only stops things like getting alcohol back in the stadium, but it stops the clubs doing things for them, like safe standing for our ultras, for instance. I doubt they will be, but if anyone from either of those groups are listening, how would you feel if it was your family out shopping and out of nowhere they were confronted by this? Because that's what happened. Innocent bystanders got affected by this. Absolutely needless, Dave. Really is.
What year are we in, Derek? Is this like 1982? Again, it's absolutely pathetic. And as you say, to bring in families that are out Christmas shopping, to have them involved in all of this, is absolute scum. I don't care what side that you're on. It's absolute scum, and it's young, mindless idiots that have got absolutely no idea the type of trauma that they're inflicting on other people. I don't give a shit about the other ultras and who they were supposed to be chasing or fighting. It's the people that are dragged into this that have got nothing to do with it whatsoever. There was people were absolutely terrorised by this, and I'll be scarred for a long, long time with what they witnessed. It's just absolute idiotic, juvenile behaviour. There's no need for it whatsoever. And what is it going to bring? It's going to bring heat on the club once again. We're going to get fined. We're going to get banned. We're going to, they're going to throw everything at us. The politicians in this country are looking for the slightest wee thing that they can throw at us. And I don't care about Celtic at all. They're absolute scum, the fans that were out doing all this as well. I'm talking about us. You really need to grow up and see the bigger picture here and what damage that you're doing to the community and to the club and to the other supporters as well. It's just completely unacceptable.
When it goes from banter, like things like painting curbs and stealing flags and things like that, it's antisocial, but it's relatively harmless and it's acceptable. But when you stray into violence like this and smashing up pubs, what's the point? What's the point?
It was more the innocent bystanders, Derek, that are out doing their Christmas shopping that are entangled in all it. I mean, there was kids there, there was elderly people there, and the police are involved, and amongst it all, it was just absolutely shocking. It really, really was. It was the real sort of ugly side of the game, which I really thought that we had got past, and it's pathetic, and they really need to have a good look at themselves.
So the game itself, Dave, what a game for a start for a neutral. But as you've said before, we're not neutrals. We only care about Rangers.
Yep.
And I think we gave a very, very good account of ourselves, considering we came off the back of a energy-sapping game against Tottenham only a few days before. Celtic had a few days extra rest. I felt we gave it all. And I think as much as we lost, and yes, we're Rangers, we need to win trophies, I think we gave a very good account of ourselves. And that's sometimes all you can ask of a team. If you go out and leave everything on the pitch, which the team done on this occasion, sometimes you can't help the way things happen. And when it goes down to penalties like that, it really is a coin toss, and it's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes we came out second best in the penalties, but you can't fault the team at all on this occasion. I know probably some people will, but I certainly can't fault them for that.
No, and I've not seen a lot of people putting any fault of the team. Every fan that we've seen were pleased with the way that we went about things, pleased with the selection, the formation, and how the team actually played. I know it went to penalties, as we're going to be getting into, Derek. It should never have went to penalties after what happened. So I feel more aggrieved with the fact that we deserved to win the game. We should have, and as we're going to get into, it should never have got as far as the penalties. But I'll get into the game regardless. I have to say, at the time, when I did the post-match before, I was so deflated because I knew how well we played and we deserved to win the game, that when I'd done the post-match, I skipped over a lot of it just because I was so pissed off, Derek, that I wanted it done and dusted. I didn't go over the major controversial point of the match in any detail because I was just so pissed off about the whole thing, but I will be speaking about that when I do this here. So before the game started, all the questions were, what's the team going to be? Is it going to be going back to two holding midfielders with Barron and Raskin in there and try and sort of sit back and soak up pressure? Was James Tavernier going to play, or was Sterling going to be fit enough to be back in the team and stuff like that? There was a whole list of who was going to be playing, who wasn't, who did we think. But the team that Philip Clement did decide to go out and play was Butland in goal. James Tavernier did play right back. It was a centre defensive partnership of Balogun and Proper because John Souttar didn't make it after going off injured against Spurs. Jeff Day at left back. Diomande and Raskin, the centre of midfield. Hadji coming in. Barame, Cherney and Igman up front. So again, change of personnel for this game. Like I said, it was Balogun in for the injured Souttar, so he was alongside Proper at the back, and Hadji obviously getting in the starting place ahead of Rudvan, who started against Spurs in the last game. On the bench, Kelly, Rudvan, Barron, Dessers, Dibble, Sterling, King, McCausland and Danilo. So I thought it was a very attacking team. Derek, I don't know about you, the fact that he was just having Raskin as a sort of sitting midfielder who has been playing so well for us recently. I thought this is a very attacking team. Barame and Hadji playing also along with Cherney and Igman up front. So straight away, I thought at least we're not going to sit back here. I don't know if you thought the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I felt we were going to go for it. My only slight concern was Tavernier being ragdolled in previous games, but I think he more than accounted for himself and he stood up to it this game, I felt.
He did. I think the Spurs game has put Tavernier's confidence back up because he had an excellent game against Spurs. Into the first half, though, first half chance for Rangers on the 5th minute, and it was Tav with a long ball in the right back spot up to Igman. It was headed out to Hadji on the left-hand side. He got to the byline, hits a shot, it's saved by Schmeichel and out. James Tavernier, though, in the 8th minute, he put Rangers in a bit of danger as he gets the ball, passes it back to Balogun, who's dispossessed by Maeda. It was a poor pass with Tavernier, but great tackle by Balogun. He gets back in, wins the ball back there. So Tav, wee bit ropey to start off with. 15th minute, huge chance for Celtic. High ball over the defence. Kuhn on the right-hand side. He beats proper for pace into Butland. He gets the ball. Butland dives down, outstretched arm, manages to get the ball away for the Celtic player. The ball is back to the edge of the box. There's a shot, but it's charged down and cleared. So that was my worry, was Celtic putting the ball over the top, the pace of Maeda and Kuhn getting in the back of us, but thankfully we got away with that one. So 16th minute, another high ball over to Kyogo. He gets a shot away, thankfully straight at Butland. 18th minute, a dink into the box by James Tavernier, a header for Barami. It was a really good chance, but straight at Schmeichel. He was quite far out with the header, but a bit unlucky there. A yellow card for Balogun, though, in the 25th minute, and I think this played a big part for Balogun because he was quite cautious after that. He wasn't wanting to get a second yellow card, but it was a challenge on Hatate. It was quite a strong challenge. Not quite sure if it was a yellow or not, but obviously it didn't go for him. 33rd minute, Rangers pick up a loose ball. Barami, he runs for the halfway to the edge of the box. He decides to shoot, and it was a bit of a powder puff shot past the post, but he had Czerny and Tav both on the right-hand side on the overlap. It would have been so much easier just to lay the ball off for one of them, either to get a shot or to put a ball across the face of the goal. That was a real mischance there. But on the 44th minute, we did take the lead, and it was Barami again. Rangers doing really well. Barami, he picks up a loose pass in the midfield. He bursts forward. He plays a ball to Igman into the box, and it was a poor ball, I've got to say. It was kind of behind him. Igman's got two Celtic defenders on him in the box, but he does fantastically well to get a shot off, and a powerful shot. It pulls off a great instinctive save by Schmeichel. I'll give him that. He palms it straight into the path of Barami, and all he's got to do is tap it into the back of the net. And for the last sort of 10, 15 minutes, Derek, it was coming. Rangers were on top, and, you know, we deserved to take the lead at that stage.
I initially didn't celebrate it because I thought he was miles offside, but it turns out he was miles on. So it was a great run, just being aware of that. The fact that just get the shot off, and you never know if the keeper spills it, it can go into your path, which it did there. But it was a nice move all the same. Granted, there was maybe a slack ball in there as well. But yeah, just a great move, and delighted at that point.
It was, and it's funny that you said that there, Derek, that you didn't celebrate it, because going by I don't know how many games against them now, we're getting to the stage that we're not celebrating goals because we've had so many goals disallowed against them in the last few years. So there was a lot of people feeling exactly the same. Thankfully, though, correctly, that was definitely onside, and Rangers 1-0. And then 44th minute, a yellow card for Jeffrey with a late tackle on Kuhn. And then 3 minutes in injury time, Balogun with a crazy run from his own half after he picks off a loose pass, runs into the box to the right-hand side, gets a great cross into the back post, and it's cleared. He could have played Igman in, really unfortunate there, but, you know, we're asking a lot of the big defender, getting all the way for his own half. He just ran, managed to get into the box. Really unlucky there. But that's where it went into half-time. And I thought that the second part of that first half was a great performance. And I felt that Rangers could still go up a gear, but a great time to score just 5 minutes before half-time, and hoping that we would build on that for the second half. But really pleased with the performance in the first half.
Yeah, delighted being 1-0 up into half-time. As you said, a great time to score. Balogun had a touch of the Majid Bugiras with that run there as well.
No, exactly.
You know, bringing memories back, just unlucky. But, you know, I think that's, and we'll get into it with another chance as well, it's all about our decision-making in the final third. We've seen it before in several games. We need to be better at that in playing against the bigger teams, because sometimes, especially in Europe, you don't get those chances often enough. You need to be a better decision-maker. We never done that in a couple of occasions this game, which maybe cost us.
So into the second half, feeling positive, but we knew that Celtic would have to come back, try and offer something. They got a free kick on the edge of the box, the 49th minute. The ball was dinked in, headed by Scales. It basically got a free header. Thankfully, it was just past the post, but quite worrying there, lapse in concentration in defence. But then, Derek, on the 50th minute, what a glorious chance we had to make it 2-0. And I was hoping at this stage it wasn't the turning point of the game, because Czerny, he wins the ball in the Celtic half. He gets the ball to Igman, who then finds Barami into the box. It's at this stage, it's 3-on-1. He had his pick who to go for. He tries to put the ball across the face of the goal, and it's snuffed out. There was options to his right, which would have been better back to Czerny. I don't know quite what or who he was trying to find with that one. Maybe a rush of blood to the head. But you said it just before half-time there. It's these fine chances when we get into the final third, picking the right ball, indecisions. That was a huge opportunity. If we'd have scored the second goal there just after half-time, I think we would have had our hands on the cup. So really, really unlucky that we didn't make that 2-0. I don't know what you thought about that one.
I was shouting and screaming at the TV at this point. It was just such a poor effort. They'd done all the hard work to get there in the first place, and the simplest of slide balls, it's all they had to do, square it to one of three players, and he couldn't do that properly. Just so frustrating.
Yep. And then for like the next 8 minutes, Celtic basically had their purple patch and went for it, and we were unable to deal with them. Just in the space of, like I say, about 8 minutes, it was just all Celtic. And it's at times like this that you wish that you just had one leader at the back there that could just snuff out everything. But unfortunately, that's where it all went wrong for us. It started in the 54th minute. Kuhn, he beats Jeffy down the wing, completely does him. Bursts into the box, hits a shot, great save by Butland, out for the corner. And then a minute later, a chance for Celtic, ball across the face of the goal. Again, a great save by Butland and out for another corner. And then Celtic inevitably scored to make it 1-1 in the 57th minute. It was the corner that chance had came from. It was cleared to the edge of the box, and Taylor just takes a hopeful swing at the ball, keeps it low, takes a wicked deflection past Butland into the back of the net, and it had been coming, Derek. They were all over us, even if it was just for that 5 minutes. It was relentless pressure. But really, really unlucky for us that it was a deflection and it ended up in the back of the net. But as you always say, Derek, you've said it for many years, if you don't shoot, you're not going to score regardless if it's a deflection or not, and that's exactly what happened.
I've put it in capital letters in my notes here. That is why you just shoot. I mean, yep. I'm fed up saying it. I've actually put in my notes as well here, bar the last 5 minutes, it was overall arguably against the run of play of the game as well, yep. Which was the more frustrating thing.
Celtic then had the wind behind them. That had given them the confidence. A minute after that, they had all the momentum. Kuhn, he gets into space, a low ball into the box again. Great save by Jack Butland. And then 2 minutes later, Celtic are winning. So in the space of 4 minutes, they've scored 2 goals against them, and it was because they had all the momentum. Lapses in concentration, and Celtic are 2-1 up, and it was poor header by Nicholas Raskin back to Balogun. Raskin had played very well at that stage, but it was a ball, he was under pressure, he tries to head it back towards Balogun in defence. The ball is kind of bouncing. Balogun's on a yellow card already. Maeda's right on him. Balogun takes a poor touch. Maeda gets in front of him, has one chance, slots it underneath Jack Butland to make it 2-1 to Celtic. So 2 poor pieces of play there by 2 players. First of all, Raskin with a poor header back, putting Balogun under pressure. Balogun, the ball's bouncing, gets a bad touch, and Maeda just nips in and scores. So absolutely crazy 4 minutes, Derek, and Celtic are 2-1 up.
Shat the bed. That's all we can say, because we do this every single time we'll lose a goal against them. We'll lose a quick second goal. We just go to pieces. I think they had a few other chances after that as well. I thought it was going to be a barrel load there, and it really is so frustrating. Can we not just shut up shop once we concede a goal? We'd let them do that too often.
It was a total sucker punch for us, because I think that we were the better team and we had controlled the game, and it was just a mad 4 minutes. And it's just times like that you wish you had that one real experienced winner at the back for Rangers who would take the sting out of a game when we're under so much pressure, but we were unable to do so. So the manager, to be fair to them, thought we'll need to make some change. 61st minute, Jeffy was off, Rudvan was on. Jeffy had quite a poor game, a quiet game. He'd got ripped for pace a few times, which I was quite surprised about. So Rudvan on, 65th minute, Sterling, he is on, and Balogun goes off at this stage. Now, Balogun had been toiling from just after half time, so we were hoping it was just going to be like a niggle and he was coming off, but he put our right back utility man in at centre half along with Robin Proper. I was fearing the worst at that point, Derek. I really was, considering we were 2-1 down, but to be fair to Sterling, he actually done quite well. 71st minute, a powerful strike by Czerny after good play by Diomande and Barami, saved by Schmeichel, and it cleared away. Celtic give the ball away in the 74th minute to Eggman, back to Diomande. He shoots, but it's a great save by Schmeichel. Really unlucky there. But like I said, that was 2 chances for Rangers in a couple of minutes. Momentum swinging our way again. And on the 75th minute, Rangers get an equaliser and score their second goal. And it was a bit of a bizarre goal. I had to watch it back a few times to actually see what had happened. But it was actually great play by Diomande. It was a short corner played to the front post. Diomande had got in there in front of the defender and the goalkeeper. A great touch, and he swivels and shoots and hits the ball down into the ground. The ball bounces over Schmeichel, who dives down to get it with his hand, goes over Schmeichel, ends up in the back of the net. It was actually excellent play by Diomande. It didn't look like it at first. It looked like a bit of a fluke, but when you look back, it was a fantastic touch by him. Swivel, and he shot down it into the ground that ended up into the back of the net, and that was Rangers back in the game, Derek.
I think there was a bit of fortune in fairness, because I think it did come off Kyogo, who had flicked his leg out, but they scored from a deflection. If we scored from one as well, I don't care, as long as it goes in the back of the net.
So at this stage, it was anybody's, because it was swinging back forward, but I still feel that Rangers had the momentum at this stage. 84th minute, Eggman on the right wing into Barami. He hits a shot, but hits the side net, and I thought he had scored it because I jumped up. Unlucky there. 86th minute, Barami off and Danilo on. And then a minute later, Celtic, I think, I'm not saying I think, definitely, against the run of play, they make it 3-2. And it's a ball down the right-hand side after a mistake by Rudvan, who had just came on. Kuhn, again, manages to get past him, and there is nobody near him whatsoever. He's got the free rein of that right wing. He gets the ball into the box. He lays it off to one of the Celtic players. I can't remember who it was. As I say, he gets to the byline, puts it onto them, but he continues his run past the player. They lay it off to him, miles of space, right in front of goal, and he fires it in past Butland. So really, it was a mistake by Rudvan. He gets skinned. But then in defence again, it's just lacking, and it's that laid off ball for the byline. Nobody stuck with the runner, and it was a pretty easy goal for them at the end, and a real sucker punch because we were coming right back into the game, Derek. So again, against the run of play, Celtic take the lead with only 3 minutes to go in the game.
I mean, I think we all thought that's the game done and dusted now. What was Rudvan doing? Absolute stupidity, just committing himself in midfield in a non-event of a place in midfield.
Yep.
He could have held off. I just don't understand what he was thinking of, and it was really simple after that. But yeah, fortunately, It wasn't the end of the game.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, because we only had to wait a minute later. On the 88th minute, unbelievably, Rangers draw level to make it 3-3. And I had been sitting with my son all game, and I said to him, Czerny has had quite a quiet game today, and he's not put in a decent ball into the box. So he made me eat my words instantly, because the ball was with Czerny on the right wing, and he looked up and he fires in a fantastic ball just out of the reach of Schmeichel, but far away enough from the defender. And who popped up out of absolutely nowhere? I don't even know if it was his first touch of the game or not, because I can't remember him touching the ball beforehand. But Danilo, with an absolutely fantastic header, bulleted it past Schmeichel into the back of the net. Those are goals that I absolutely love. They're my favourite goals. Great crosses into the box and headers into the back of the net. We've not had a Rangers striker that's been able to do that for a long, long time. And it was a tremendous goal to make it 3-3 and sending the game surely into extra time after that. Great way to hit back, Derek.
I might have not have celebrated the first goal, but I certainly made up for it when this goal went in.
I couldn't handle it. My son was telling me to calm down, and I says to him, look, I can't handle this. My heart was going 10 to the dozen, but that was the full-time score, 3-3, and into extra time, and how this was going to go, nobody knew. But 4 minutes into extra time, Derek, and this was the controversial moment. They were going to speak about this in much greater depth after the game, but Rangers really should have had it. Well, they should have had a penalty, a clear-cut penalty, which wasn't given, and it was Czerny. He picks up the loose ball again. He runs towards the edge of the box. He's just outside the box. Scales has got a hold of his shirt. Czerny keeps on going. Scales keeps on pulling his shirt way into the box. The referee at this stage gives the free kick at the edge of the box. Now, at the time, in the furore and everything that's going on, watching it in the TV, you're saying to yourself, well, obviously there's not been enough there for it to be a penalty. And the free kick was awarded, which basically came to nothing. Tav took it. It was over the bar. But as we're going to get into Derek, it was clearly, he pulled him, he continued to pull him right into the box. And by the letter of the law, that is a clear-cut penalty to Rangers. And we basically didn't get anything, and we'll get into the whole VAR thing later on. You can maybe forgive the referee on the spot for seeing what happened, but, going by what we had, it should have been a stonewall penalty for Rangers at that stage. And personally, I think it would have been enough for us to win the cup, but it wasn't to be, and we never got the penalty awarded, Derek. So, like I said, we'll get into that because there's been a lot of fallout after it, but shocking decision.
I think, like you said, it wasn't really picked up much at the time. My stream was going in and out, so I was flitting between Rangers TV and one of the main channels as well. So I can't remember who the commentary was. I think I was on Tom Miller at this point, and there was a mention of it, but they never really laboured the point at all. So, yeah, I think it was one of these things where it was just free kick given, we get on with the game. And
first half extra time after that, there wasn't really any major talking points after that chance. Substitution, Igman came off, Dessers came on, and with Dessers' first touch of the ball, literally seconds after he came on, he gets a yellow card. Very soft tackle, I've got to say, but he did put in a tackle on Cameron Carter-Vickers. The referee instantly booked him, so I'll let him off for that because it was definitely wasn't enough for a yellow card, but that is basically all I've got for Dessers in the time that he came on, was getting yellow carded. I've not really got anything for him after that. And that was half time. Double substitution for Rangers. And you've got to laugh at this stage, Derek, and we shouldn't really have a go. But, the likes of Kieran Dowell, as soon as you see him coming on, it's more of a sort of comedy skit than anything else when you see him coming on. And my son looked at me and basically just burst out laughing when he seen Dowell coming on. It was Dowell and Barron on, Diomande and Czerny off, who had been... Diomande had a very good game for us, so he came on. But I could see that Rangers were, trying to hold out. Celtic didn't look as if they were doing anything either, so both teams, I think, were going for the penalties. Hadji was yellow carded on the 111th minute for a late obstruction, and Scales. Rangers were getting very leggy, a lot of shattered players out there. And that was it. It went into penalty kicks, and I've not got anything else after that.
I've got a list here. Tavernier scores, Ida scores, Hadji scores, McGregor scored, Danilo scored, Ingles, I call him Ingles, don't know if that's his right name or no, scored. And then Ridvan, the decisive penalty, steps up and hits a rather weak penalty, and it was saved by the keeper. Hitati scores, Butland takes a penalty and scores, and Maida scores to make it 5-4 to Celtic. So they were all great penalties apart from Ridvan's one, which was the annoying thing. Penalties are a crapshoot, aren't they, Dave? You can't really say much about them. I
know. And what I'm about to get into, Derek, and it might sound like sour grapes to people, I don't know, but the behaviour of Kasper Schmeichel during the penalty shootout, I was very annoyed with. The referee really should have done something, and by the letter of the law, Schmeichel shouldn't be even in the box for any of the penalties that were taken. I think he was in the box for every single penalty he was taken. But before every Rangers player stepped up, he was right up to them, almost nose to nose, trying to wind them up, trying to put them off. And I know, we don't do unsportsmanlike conduct and stuff like that you get in other sports, but you would have thought the referee would have used, a wee bit of common sense, got him to move back and all of this. You could see how much it annoyed Hadji and how happy he was that he scored against him. He was giving him a bit of lip, but all to be expected by one of their players, considering he's not played for them long, but it's something that you really would expect from them, and I thought it was bang out of order, Derek, and the referee could have done a lot better to stop that.
It didn't really bother me as such. It more bothered me the fact that the referee done nothing about the fact that he was standing in the box, which he's not allowed to do. I mean, they should have been retaking penalties, but yeah. Another thing that came of the penalties is the fact that Desser's never taken a penalty. Now, he got a lot of heat for it. I'm, to be honest, not bothered that he never taken it. He's a striker, he should take a penalty. Not necessarily. It all depends on your feeling at the time and on the game. If he wasn't confident enough to take a penalty, I'm more than happy for somebody else to step up and take it. Ridvan, I'm not going to get onto him because it's a brave thing, arguably, to step up and take the penalty. So, as I said, it's a crapshoot when it comes to penalties. One of the other things that came of it is the fact that Butland, he never really got near anyone. I think he dived the right way for two of them. I think we've been spoiled in the previous keepers we've had, especially with McGregor, because he was a penalty expert. I mean, I think I've seen a stat, mind you, that said he had 60 odd penalties taken into him. He'd saved 18, which doesn't sound great, but McGregor stepped up and saved the big penalties. So I just think that some keepers are great, some keepers are not so great at saving penalties.
Well, as you said, Derek, I would never ever get on at Ridvan for missing the penalty, because it does take a lot to step up. The whole Dessers thing, the guy is so low in confidence just now that could you imagine what would have happened if he'd have stepped up and missed it? He would have got more grief than what he's getting now for not taking one. So I can understand that. When it comes to the goalkeeper, you can just tell that the goalkeepers are firing shots and penalties in when they're going through their training and all that. So fair enough, I thought it was a risk at the time, but he converted his penalty fantastically well. But just a really gut-wrenching way to lose a cup final, and as we're going to get into soon, I don't think it should have got that far.
No, I do want to correct one thing, Dave, because I did tell a lie about I'll never have a go at a player for missing a penalty. Aaron Ramsey's a prick.
You're giving me flashbacks, for fuck's sake, you're giving me flashbacks.
So, we get onto the fallout part of it now, and I'll preface this with, we still had to score the penalty. Too often when Celtic claim they should have had a penalty, they automatically think it would mean a goal. No, it doesn't. So often Celtic end up missing their penalties when they do get them anyway. So absolutely, it's not a given that we score and then go on to win the game after that as well. But it was an extra time. Both teams were absolutely dead on their feet. It would have taken a monumental effort from Celtic or a horrendous mistake from us for them to come back from us scoring a penalty that should have been given. Now, as I've said, I missed it at the time. I do remember the commentators making reference to it, but on watching it back, an absolute stonewall penalty. Every commentator said it's a stonewall penalty. Every ex-ref pundit stated it's a stonewall penalty. Every paper and journalist has stated it's a stonewall penalty. The only people that laid any sort of blame to anyone else was the pundits on Sports Scene, who said that the Rangers players should have been going berserk at it. It's not the player's job to do that, ultimately. And the rules were put in place and they were changed so that only the captain can speak to the ref and matters like that anyway. Of course, Celtic fans claim it was never a penalty and the foul was blown for the first part of the foul and not the second part. They claim that 100% categorically, undeniably, it was the first foul. And that's despite it being one continuous foul from outside the box into the box, and the referee didn't blow his whistle until Chernier went down. So it was clearly the second part of the foul he was blown for. Now, the papers then started reporting that Willie Collum was going to come out and admit it was an obvious mistake. Of course, after that, when that news broke, Celtic fans started to say, aye, but right, that's the case, but Balogun Hadji should have had a straight red card and Tavernier should have had a second yellow. Dave, why did they do this?
They do it because they know that they got away with one, Derek. At the end of the day, they've got away with one yet again. What is getting me a bit about it as well is, at the time, like you said, I watched it on Premier Sports, and it wasn't until really after the whole thing had happened that this when it was getting highlighted that it was a definite penalty for Rangers, because when we watched it, everything went so quick, but it was clearly a pull, and I still don't know why it wasn't looked at in more detail, and and as you're going to get into soon, it wasn't. It was glossed over very, very quickly. You said before there, every journalist under the sun knew it was a penalty. All I can say is when the likes of Hugh Keevins and Tom English say that it was a definite penalty at Rangers, then you know that we've definitely been cheated out of that there. And I use my words carefully, but we were cheated out of it.
Our new CEO, Patrick Stewart, stated the next day in a brief introduction video that he did state that we were in contact with the SFA and had asked questions around it. Now, some of our fans wanted him to go absolutely ballistic. He was never going to do that on the first day, and that wasn't going to be the first thing he done as well. Willie Collum then did come out, and in fairness to him, he gave the VAR officials both barrels and basically couldn't believe that they never gave it, and clarified that the foot being on the line or in the box or whatever was absolutely irrelevant. It was where the shirt was pulled and where it happened, and it continued to happen into the box, and that's the thing that matters. It went from outside to inside the box, and the referee blew for a foul after he went in the box. Ian Maxwell then came out and basically made up an excuse saying decisions will be wrong, that's a given, just part of human nature. He then went on to ridiculously claim that it's the first time he'd been asked about VAR. Barefaced lies, considering that VAR was caught up in another scandal last year with us, with a handball with Alistair Johnson. I find that absolutely incredible that he can come away with that. I don't believe that man for a second. Then the VAR audio got released. Dave, we knew it was going to be bad. It's beyond that. An absolute shambles. People shouting over each other. One person said it was a penalty. Alan Muir, I think it was, then states, you can see he's just inside there. It's really close. Aye, it's more outside. It was really close. If it's more outside, then it's partly inside, you fucking buffoon then. Then he says he's outside and just goes there. Goes where exactly? Basically, it was all over in less than 30 seconds, and Collum has appeared to confirm that Frank Connor was more bothered about writing down the yellow card that was given and doing the paperwork than actually doing his job and checking the actual images again. Now, the play had stopped, so there was absolutely no need to speed up things. I know the Super Scoreboard said that there's maybe been pressure on referees to try and speed things up with VAR checks and get things through, but when it's a penalty decision like that, or a potential penalty, then they need to take their time with things like that. The time it takes is not the issue, it's the lack of communication is the issue. The fact that they cannot take an extra 10 seconds to review that properly is beyond incomprehensible, Dave. It's a dereliction of duty, it's incompetence at best, it's downright corruption at the worst. Now, Rangers did issue a response after that, stating that Rangers FC notes that the Scottish FA's admission of officiating failure following the non-award of a penalty to Rangers in Sunday's Premier Sports Cup final, and welcomes the transparency from the Scottish FA. However, for such a failure to occur during one of Scotland's showcase matches is not only hugely disappointing for the club and its supporters, but also damaging for the credibility of Scottish football more widely. We acknowledge the Scottish FA's determination to use this and other decision-making failures as opportunities to drive improvements in officiating standards. As a club, we continue to engage with the Scottish FA in an attempt to improve officiating standards for the benefit of all clubs in Scotland. A weak response. We wanted blood and thunder, we got piss and vinegar. It was our opportunity to slam previous decisions, which were blown off with wishy-washy excuses. Obviously, I'm talking about the handball one there especially. It was a chance to slam officiating and the integrity of some. What really annoys me is that some fans want blood and thunder, and when we've got a legit cause to use it, they get all squeamish about it and they say, oh, that's not the Rangers way. We don't want to look like Celtic. But look where the Rangers way is getting us. Fuck all and laughed at. Perhaps if we had more of a backbone, then this wouldn't happen as often. Here's the thing. Certain refs with their decisions have opened themselves up to claims of corruption. I don't actually think they are. I just think it's very easy for them not to give something against Celtic because they know their lives will be made hell. You could actually argue that is a form of corruption then, but this is what Celtic have managed to do. They've put pressure on refs every single time, and it's worked because they're getting the decisions time and time again. Big decisions at that. They get decisions against them largely inconsequential, but when they get decisions, they largely get the rub of the green on this. Now, I know that you might say, oh, some go for you, some go against you, which, funnily enough, Brendan Rodgers came away with that absolute bullshit today. However, it wasn't so much that when they got a red card decision against him, he actually got sanctioned for calling the integrity of referees under question. So this is where the response from Rangers sadly lacks once again. I didn't expect the CEO to say this personally, but I expected this to be a new era. Maybe it'll happen in time, but we can't keep going on with this Rangers way because it gets us absolutely nowhere, Dave, and we don't get trophies from it. That's 2 trophies in the last couple of years we've not had because of poor refereeing decisions.
This is the same Brendan Rodgers, Derek, who, when he was here for his first stint at Celtic, put so much pressure under the referees that before a certain big match against us, when he was asked to comment on it, he said that he really hoped that we wouldn't be talking about a bad refereeing decision against Celtic rather than what was actually happened in the game. So this is a guy that's been putting pressure on referees for years. We're talking about also a club and its fans and ex-players who have been putting pressure on referees for years also. What have I got to say about the whole anyone but Celtic movement? I wonder what they're saying about things now. As you say, they're just laughing. Ex-players, they actually zoomed into him. Tom Boyd, ex-player that, actually was one of the players that came out and commended and spoke to these absolute lunatics about anyone but Celtic. They're saying nothing now as well. I'm in the same camp as you, Derek. The amount of pressure that they have put on referees in the past, which is absolutely incredible, and it's always been seen when it comes to us as being not the Rangers way. Get that as far to fuck as possible. I want this brought up constantly. Every single time we play them, I want to play them at their own game. If it means putting pressure on the referees, then so what? We're getting nothing out of this whatsoever, and they're getting all of the big decisions. You said to some of the big decisions, they're getting all the big decisions here. So no, I'm sick and tired of it.
I mean, you look in the last maybe 5 or 6 Old Firm games, and the amount of decisions that have went against us. That one, the obviously the offside one in the cup final a few years ago, the Morelos one. There was several others where legitimate goals chopped off for the least wee thing.
Cup final last year when Simmer scored, Derek, where the Rangers player is pushed onto the Celtic player, and the foul is given because the Rangers player is getting pushed onto the Celtic player on the goal line when we got a perfectly good goal chopped off. There's a more recent one in a cup final as well that we should have won also. So it's big, it's trophies that we're not getting because of these decisions. And again, I've got no doubts in my head it's coming from pressure that's put on from a club which certainly isn't us.
No. So we'll see what happens from there, because certainly, fair play to Willie Collum. There's part of me that still thinks, he's done this whole transparency thing and this monthly review of things and showing the audio thing. Part of me does think he's doing it for his own vanity purposes, because we know what he was like on the field. It was always making it about him. He's the one that's fronting these things now, which, considering he's the head of the referees and all that thing. But I'll give him his benefit, his due, because he has came out and slammed them. I don't know if there was an apology in that, mind you. Where does it go from there? He's came out in that statement in the video. He said that he's not going to say what exact punishment the referees are getting, because managers don't do it to players when they make mistakes. But this is the thing, we need to know what's happening with them. Is there any going to be remedial training? Because this is the thing about the whole situation. You can forgive John Beaton to an extent, because see, if there wasn't VAR, it would be on him, so he would be getting the flack just now. So VAR's kind of saved them in that respect. However, it's maybe a mistake for one person to do it in the VAR room, for their two very experienced referees to be watching things back on several angles for this to come away with that. That's not a training issue for me, because they know the rules. So what's going to happen then? It doesn't make sense. So are they just going to get dropped for a couple of games? Bearing in mind it's largely a volunteer position, are they going to get demoted down the leagues, which then is no help to the games down the bottom of the leagues? I don't know, Dave. There needs to be transparency about what is the punishment for this. It's much like when you're in your job, you make a big fuck up, Dave, you'll get a verbal warning, or a written warning. You'll get your second written warning. If it's gross misconduct, Dave, you get instantly sacked. So I don't know, a mistake of this magnitude potentially could border on gross misconduct, because it's prevented us potentially getting a trophy. Two, the prize money that goes with that. We'll move on though, Dave, because we can go round in circles about the same thing, and we'll just need to wait and see what happens. But if the SFA think that they can blow this over with a wee video, a bit of a mea culpa, and we'll move on to the next game, they're sadly mistaken. And as you said, Dave, Rangers need to be hammering this home every single time they can.
Yep, completely.
But it leads us into the next couple of games we've got coming up. Saturday the 21st of December at home to Dundee in the Premiership. That's a 1500 kickoff. Thursday the 26th of December away to St Mirren in the Premiership. That's a 1745 kickoff. Sunday the 29th of December away to Motherwell. That's in the Premiership. That's a 1500 kickoff. That's the last game of 2024. And the first game of 2025, Thursday the 2nd of January, home to Celtic in the Premiership. That's a 1500 kickoff. So I would like Rangers to be talking about the referees again in the Dundee game. Maybe give it a rest if there's no any problems in the next few games. But it's certainly in every presser in the lead up to that Celtic game, hammer it home, and then do the exact same in the media. Get our media-friendly ex-players into the media all the time, hammering home that same point. That's all we can really do at this point.
Yep, and that's definitely the tactics I personally would do. I would be bringing it up before every single game and making it a talking point, just like what they've been doing for at least the last 20 years, Derek. And like I say, it really, really gets on my wick, the fact that their whiter than white so-called manager will come out when he's the type of person that's done that in the past also, because things possibly haven't been going their way. Immediate pressure on the referees, and then it usually goes for them. So no, fuck it, let's get us to do exactly the same thing.
So we'll now go into the news. So not a lot to cover in the news this episode, but in typical fashion, as soon as we put out our podcast, news broke that we had just appointed a chairman, and he'll be joining on the 16th of December along with the CEO. So we've appointed Fraser Thornton as chair. He's held many senior leadership and board positions throughout his career, both in public and private companies. He's worked in the international drinks industry for the last 30 years, and he offers a vast range of experience in stakeholder engagement, spanning political, commercial and public interest groups. He's an extensive management experience across sales, brand marketing, strategy development and finance. He was raised in Glasgow, graduated from Stirling Uni before qualifying as a chartered accountant with Pricewaterhouse in Glasgow in 1993. He's held multiple leadership executive positions in international business, working across several regions of the world. He was a council member for the Scotch Whisky Association for 15 years, and he's held several non-executive positions, and he's currently the interim chair of Scottish Golf. So a vast range of experience. They were looking for that Scottish-based person as well. That's the type of appointment we were looking for. I'm glad he's in the door now, and much like the CEO, it is going to take time for things to bed in. It's a long-term appointment, so we're not going to see things change overnight, but we'll let them get on with their job, and we see what they do.
Yep, but just like the CEO, Derek, on paper, it certainly looks as if we've got the right candidate for the job. It just needs to be seen what actually happens now off the park. But like I said, on paper, looks as if we're taking the correct steps going forward.
Yes. So the next and last piece of news I've got here is the Gers B team left the Glasgow Cup after they beat Celtic B team 3-2. So fantastic there for the Glasgow Cup to be coming back to Ibrox.
Yeah, superb. It used to be a major thing, the Glasgow Cup. I remember when I was younger, it was, first teams that were playing. It's now the B teams. But again, with the issues that we've had with the B team, with competitive matches and stuff like that, it's excellent to see that they're, competing at this level and still bringing in some silverware.
Yes. So it's now time for Fessel Corner. Found a jar of biscuits in our office lobby when working over the weekend in Hungary. I had a few, then farted and then followed through on the bus home. Sorry, driver. Apparently, they were milk bones for visiting dogs, and they don't take out lactose when they make them. I know everyone does it, but I don't like people seeing me come out of a cubicle after a shit. I was late for a meeting today as the guy in the next stall finished at the same time as me, and I had to stand waiting for him to leave before I could come out. Me and the missus have an agreement. Any skid marks on the front of the bowl are her responsibility, and the ones at the back are my responsibility. She's not upholding her end of the bargain, and it's making me reconsider our relationship.
Toilet humour is always my favourite, Derek.
Whenever I feel ripped off by a pub or bar for paying £6 plus for a pint, I purposely aim for their air freshener in the urinal to wear it down so they have to spend more money on the little blue aerial fresheners. Having an argument with husband in the car, I was losing said argument, so to deter him from the argument, I purposely drove the car into a ditch, but made it look like an accident by faking a heart attack. We forgot about the argument, but the car repairs have just cost shy of £4,000. That's one way to do it.
Do you want to know something? That is a typical sort of married woman way of making sure you didn't lose an argument. I could honestly see that happening.
And to end it out here, my cat is 15 and needs a tablet crushed into her food for a hyperthyroid condition. When mixing it, I think of myself as an elite coach in the 1970s, secretly doping my athlete in our steroidy quest for gold at any cost.
Why that would cross somebody's mind? Oh dear.
So on that note, we will end the podcast. So it's taken us a lot longer to get through that because I think it's still raw, Dave. It's still raw. A lot to talk about in the game. It was a cracking game itself, but the fallout from it and what's happened is just unbelievable. And we'll need to wait and see what happens in the next coming games to see if anything like that happens again.
Yeah, I mean, do feel extremely aggrieved, as the vast majority of us do, and I really do want it to keep going because I think it's the only way that things are going to change. But like you said, we'll just have to wait and see what happens now. Yes.
So Dave or I will be back with a post-match tomorrow or tonight if the podcast comes out then after the Dundee game. If we don't see you beforehand though, I would like to wish you all a great Christmas and hope Santa is all good to you as well.
Yes, Merry Christmas everyone. We will be back soon. Take care.
Bye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.